Okay, so now I'm recording. So welcome to our ENSA Enterprise Networking and Security and Automation class for summer 2020. I'm going to turn my video off here in a minute because I mean, Cthulhu is cool, let's be honest. But I'm going to walk through some things here and talk to you about some of the different things that we're going to have in class. I do want to share my screen here, so I'm going to stop my video because, again, it's better for everyone involved if I don't have my screen share. So folks, you should be able to see over here on the now. Please let me know if you do. You should see. Right now I'm showing you canvas.stanley.edu, which actually shows up as stanleycc.infrastructure.com. Just a quick walkthrough. All of you have already done this, so I'm not going to spend much time here at all. But your course is this summer course here where I went in and did, oh, wait a minute, it's the wrong one. That's the IoT course. My other summer course. But you've all done the introductory assignment. I've already given you a grade on it, and thank you very much for that. I want you to know that, let me pull the share out here. I got participants. If you have a question, unmute yourself and just have at it, start talking. But you've already done it. I've given you a grade. For the most part, that's all you need to do in Canvas. I will ask that you come in here maybe once during the semester or twice, especially toward the end, to quote, show attendance. But we're really not going to be doing much more in canvas.stanley.edu. Now, if you want, you're welcome to log in here and then bounce over to Netacad or bounce over to NetLabs if you forget the URLs. But I think most of you are probably at the point now where you know the URLs for our next two sites. Your next site is obviously netacad.com, and everyone should be in this already. By the way, some of you already turned in work, so we got some real go-getters in the class. Excellent job. I've graded a couple of those, looked at them and already graded them, so excellent. I want you to know that this is where we do 99.99, well, I take it back, about 80% of my work, because you do a lot in NetLabs too. But my classes may be a little different than Kirby's that you've been in, although they should be similar in that when you go to modules, when you look under modules, you're going to see that I've added in modules for each one of the different sections, okay? And as you go through and look at these, like single area OSPF, there are no labs in it, but under, single OSPF concepts, single area OSPF concepts, there are no labs. But then in this single area OSPF version 2, V2 configuration module 2, I've got all the packet tracers here, and you'll complete them and upload them. And if you will, again, make sure you upload with a screenshot showing your the check results page. That just saves me having to open every one of them up. If you do have an issue, let me know. So again, this is set up so you can upload a screenshot showing the assessment items, and everyone who's done that so far. Are there any questions about how to do that, how to upload that screenshot? I think this is pretty common to what you've seen in Kirby's class. And then this, when you get to this lab, anything that's not packet tracer that's labs, folks, that's over here in our NetLabs class. So when we go in here, and when you go in here to schedule yourself a lab, so schedule a lab for myself, I have a lot of classes, by the way. I'm an instructor in a whole lot of classes. But you'll see your KFC ENSA Sum 2020. You click there, and then you'll see that this is CCNA 3 V7. This is multi-device pods, what this stands for. By the way, the skills assessment, this is your hands-on final. This is where you will go when I say do the hands-on final. So this is an individual lab here, a single lab that is the hands-on final. If you click on the top item, you will see all the labs supported inside of NetLabs. You'll notice there's not a lot. That's one of the reasons I really think instead of like most of my classes, I actually say that if you complete 80% of the labs, I will give you credit. I want you to do all the labs for this particular class. And that's all the hands-on labs. If you do packet tracers and only do 80% of those, I'm fine with that. But even our packet tracers, there seems to be less content in this ENSA course than there is in the routing switching essentials or switching routing wireless essentials and the introduction to networks. So we're going to be working inside of this course and using these modules and doing the labs moving forward. One of the things you probably have already noticed, there's what, 14 modules inside of this particular course, but modules do not mean they are as long as a full chapter. So 14 modules, you can get through some of these modules fairly quickly. I will give you a warning. If you go in here, and you've already seen this, but I want to mention anyway. If you go in here and click on a packet tracer activity, and then click to go to that activity, and you haven't already opened up the curriculum, you will get an error message saying that you can't get in, so you're getting a valid session here. But if you go in and open up the curriculum itself, so in other words, I'm going to open the course content, make sure it's open in a window, and then I'm going to go in and I'm going to go to my modules again and find a packet tracer I want to complete. And I find this point-to-point single area OSPF configuration and click on, it will then bounce you over. So basically, if you don't already have the curriculum open, you get it's an authentication error that takes place. You should be fairly familiar with that. Are y'all familiar with that problem, that issue? It's also going to be the same when I let you have my the shells. By the way, all these the areas in here where you're seeing in the modules, where you're seeing the listing of packet tracers and the listings of labs, that's not there when you just create a normal course, standard course. Normally you don't have any of those. You just have basically the module group exams, you have the course content, you have the skills exams, but all of these items down here from module 1 all the way down were things that Kirby and I added in when we created these courses and created the course shells. I will be giving you access to the course shells and telling you how to use those course shells if you haven't been using them in the past. And inside of that is an issue about, or showing you the issue of this particular item. 1 second, folks. Okay. Any questions about how these activities are inside of Netacad? Joe, Stan, Brian, anybody?
No.
Tamara? Am I pronouncing your name right, Tamara?
You are.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. All right. So no questions at all. You're comfortable with all these different pieces. That's good. All right. Excellent. So one of the first things I want to do is, I'm not going to actually start lecturing today. I'm going to lecture and put some stuff up for you. But the first thing we will be talking about is just single area OSPF and the concepts. Now, as you're familiar with routing protocols, and we've done a little bit with routing protocols to this point. Routing protocols are used to allow you to dynamically share routes between different routing sources. OSPF is what's called a linked state routing protocol. We're going to talk about the fact that a linked state routing protocol is a more advanced routing protocol. It allows you, when you look at some of the characteristics of OSPF, you look at linked state operation, instead of exchanging just information with a neighbor, we used to go over RIP inside of CCNA, and RIP was what's called a distance vector routing protocol. And with distance vector, you would only exchange information to your directly connected neighbors. That ended up with what was called routing by rumor. And it's that old game of when you open up you have a classroom of 20 students and you tell the first student one thing and then ask them to whisper it to everyone all the way down through. By the time it gets to the 20th student, it's a very different thing than what you told that first student. OSPF as a linked state routing protocol, now they still do it, they form what's called neighbor adjacencies. So that's what we're seeing here, is these neighbor packets being handed out between routers. But when they go to exchange linked state advertisements, they go out to every router in the environment. So the linked state advertisements are flooded to every router using, with IPv4, it's a multicast address, IPv4 multicast address, 224.0.0.5 or 6, depending on how the network's set up, whether it's non-broadcast multi-access or broadcast multi-access. And we won't learn all of that in this, because quite honestly, we're just doing a very simple OSPF configuration. We're going to talk a little bit about how OSPF can be used to do multi-area OSPF, but for the most part, everything inside the CCNA is just single area OSPF. So it's really been made much easier in my opinion. But the good news is, this is a modern day routing protocol. It is a protocol that is in use out there. inside of networks. It's an open protocol. So it's not a Cisco proprietary protocol like EIGRP, Enhanced Interior Gateway Routing Protocol. Even though technically EIGRP has been released as an open standard by Cisco, OSPF is an actual RFC-based routing protocol. Have any of you configured OSPF before? Brian, you have? Okay, Brian has. The neat thing about it is that OSPF, you can take a Cisco router running OSPF and you can take a Linux box running as an OSPF router and you can hook them together and they'll talk to each other because it is an open standard. The only thing we'll talk a little bit about is the hello timers. You have to make sure the hello timers match in order for OSPF to form an adjacency. But other than that, pretty much they will form an adjacency. It does have another modern feature of OSPF is the ability to authenticate links. So you can do authentication between two different routers to make sure that you don't have an invalid routing source in your network, which is, excuse me, which is a really good thing in modern networks. Trying to think of some other things I can cover here. Have any of you read Chapter 1 yet or Module 1 yet? Brian's read it. You can be honest with me if you haven't, that's fine. You'll notice one of the things I did, and I will show you this too, inside of your module, if you looked at your calendar, I did not really make anything due this week. I tried to push everything out till next week to give you time to get going. So that's one of the reasons I'm not going to do a whole lot today in terms of getting, this is just our meeting to get us started and get us going. Are there any questions about the course format, what we're going to be doing, and what we're going to try to accomplish through the summer? I will tell you this, if you notice, I turned on all the exams today because everybody's in the course on netacad.com. You'll notice that they are turned on until August 24th. I just did 90 days. So if you go, well, I thought the class ended August 11th. Well, yeah, technically the class does end August 11th. But if you've been in any of my classes before, you know that I usually have some wiggle room with the Netacad portion. So if you don't get finished by August 11th, we have a little bit of wiggle room that's available. So I just did it 90 days to August 24th. But be aware, again, the other thing I want you to do is don't freak out. That's one of my golden rules in all my classes. We have no freaking out. Due dates are set. And the reason I said due dates is simply because if you're like me and you don't have a due date, then more than likely you're not going to stay caught up. So make sure that you are, able to just calm down when you see all the due dates and realize, hey, it's okay, everything's fine. The due dates will be there. And I thought
Kelly, if we finish a few weeks early, is that okay?
That's perfectly fine. That is not a problem whatsoever. Yeah, if you finish early, I will, you'll just let me know. The big thing is, if you're going to be finishing early, let me know so I can turn the final on, because the final is, I can only turn it on for 7 days at a time. So just let me know when you're going to need the final turned on and the course feedback turned on, and I'll make sure that those are done. And I'm very angry because for some reason my due dates did not stick. Huh. And I drug every one of these out with due dates. Well, guess what I get to do? I get to do it again. Okay, so I will have due dates, but be aware that when I set a due date, that does not mean that's the drop dead date. If you don't get it finished by that day, I don't give you zeros. You're instructors. I understand you've got summer classes going on. You got things going on. If you don't get it done by that date, I will, you can turn them in late, but just realize that that's to try to keep you on track so that you won't fall behind. And again, I'm not sure why it doesn't show up is because I drug all those over the other day. Watch me have done it in the wrong class, which the way the summer's been, well, it's not even summer yet. So I will get these drug out here for you so you will have your assignments. Yep, somehow I missed it. Okay. But by the way, if you've never done this before, let's see. This weekend I've said, actually, this should be. Oh, there they are. They are there. So there's your lab. Nope, that's my ITC classes. So for some reason, I did not drag them out. But if you've never drug them out before, this is the easiest way to set your class dates. So like I want you to do all the chapter 2 packet tracers on the 7th. You just drag them out, and that will set the assignment date to that day. So you don't have to go to individually. Otherwise, you have to open up each individual assignment and assign the assigned date for them. So this is the easy way to do it. And I promise you, I have done this already before with the class. I don't know why it didn't keep it. Okay. Any questions about, and now you'll see if I go back to the class and look under assignments, the date should be set. Hopefully it'll be set here. Yep, see they've been set June 7th. So all those dates have been set. The other way to set an assignment date is to click here, go edit, and then set your due date, which is a pain to do. Personally, I think it is anyway. Okay. Are there any questions about the format of the class or what we're going to try and get done? Honestly, we may all get done a little bit early because I don't think there's quite as much content in this as there has been in the other two. If we do get done early and someone wants to do the one of the emerging technology workshops, we may try to put you in one of those. Yes, John, go ahead.
Yeah, Kelly, I was wondering when you were demonstrating how to set the due dates by dragging it across, I saw where you were dropping it onto the calendar. Where were you dragging it from?
Okay, so I go in here and see where I'm at calendar. So I click on the calendar link when I'm in the class. So when I'm in a course, you'll see your normal home modules assignments. Then on the far left, you've got my Netacad, account, admin. I click on calendar and it's taking its time. It's going over here. You then select, make sure you're selected your calendar, and then you go down and find the class itself. So whatever the date is. Okay. And then click the undated item. Drop down here on the undated, and you'll see anything that has not got a date assigned to it. So any assignment that you have that has no assignment or no date, it will be right here. So for instance, I want you to do the test for modules 1 and 2 on the 7th. So I'm gonna pull that over there. I also want you to do the lab. Gotta find the lab for chapter 2. I think I've already put it over here. Yep, there it is. So that allowed me to pull those out right there. So basically, you select your class and do undated, and anything that's dated, undated will be here. Otherwise, it will actually already be on the calendar. And then, like say I want to move it, all I gotta do is just move it over here. So you can move it to whatever date you want. I typically make things due on Sunday, but be aware, folks, again, those are suggested dates. I'm not gonna have a heart attack if you do not get them done by those days. There's going to be times you're not going to be able to get them done by those days. I understand that.
Okay, thank you very much. That explains that. I've not used.
Oh yeah, that saves so much time to be able to just drag things out like that. It is so nice. Before we had that, it was a pain in the rumpus. So, okay, any other questions? All right, well, I am going to stop sharing. Stop the share here. I'm going to stop the recording.